This is our annual winter conference. We've had about 600 people here. One of the things that we have been asking for several years is authority for the Department of Revenue to collect unpaid municipal fines from a taxpayer's refund. For example, a citizen breaks municipal law, goes to courts, fully adjudicated. They have a fine of $250, but they never pay it. The city doesn't have much recourse in how to collect that. So this is something that DOR does for other political jurisdictions. So we would like the authority for them to, if a taxpayer's getting a $500 tax refund and they owe a city $200, then that would be held out and sent to that city. There are millions and millions of dollars of uncollected fines from our cities across the state, so this would be a great tool for them. In the special session back in August, there was a bill passed that would start diverting some use tax or internet sales tax to cities, so that'll be a new revenue stream that they can use to address these issues. That funding doesn't really start until August of this year, but it is an ongoing funding stream that will be there forever. So we feel like we've helped them address that to some extent with this bill, but there are other issues that they have. Just they need more opportunities for their citizens to have jobs, so economic development is always a big issue for them. They need training for public safety, and so there are a lot of issues that we monitor and try to promote for them during the session. The Municipal League is a private association, but we represent the 300 member cities, but in essence we're representing the citizens who live in those cities. So when we go to the Capitol and we're lobbying for legislation to help make things better, ultimately the municipal citizen is who benefits. And so we take a lot of pride in doing that for our member cities, and ultimately it's to make life better for citizens who live in cities. We always hope that this is a way to get our municipal officials engaged at the Capitol at the beginning of the session, and I think we've already accomplished that. We took a couple of hundred over this morning in buses, and we just want to get them engaged and interacting with their senators and representatives early on in the session, and I feel like we accomplished that with our winter conference.
With it being an election year, we really don't have a lot of stuff that we're pushing for. We do want to see the possible of the infrastructure bill to come together and for that to be implicated as quickly as possible. Internet bill that you just heard about, we're looking forward for that to be pressed forward. Teacher pay raises, just those kind of things. I am a small town of under 500 people, and so the biggest issue facing us is unfunded mandates that we have with our sewage lagoons and things like that. With 600 people here today, that means that there's a widespread of people across the state of Mississippi that are interested in what's going on, and so we just hope that we can join together and work forward to move forward.
A city like Jackson has critical infrastructure needs, and we need to make certain that we have state support in doing that. A city like Jackson provides such a significant contribution to the state, housing more than half of our buildings downtown are state facilities, which we provide water to for free. And so we want to ensure that we're able to meet the concerns of our communities. We want a legislative session which focuses more on the common ends and objectives of cities and communities and legislators as opposed to perceived differences. And so I hope that we can operate in a spirit of unity in that regard. Resources to tackle a number of things. As I mentioned just a moment ago, not only does Jackson have an ailing infrastructure, we have an aging infrastructure all around the nation. And so the more we can do to affect that, the better. Not only do we have roads that are deteriorating, we have internal infrastructure that people don't see each and every day. For instance, in Jackson, we have over 100-year-old pipes. When the weather reaches its lowest point, we often have breaks all throughout the city. We have to make certain that we have the most up-to-date equipment to provide water. Water is not, or safe water is not a mere luxury to people, it's a necessity. And so as we've seen recent events in cities like Flint where you have lead within our water system, we have to ensure that we aren't leaving our people susceptible to the same things that endanger them. Going beyond that, we have to move out of these cycles of humiliation, which have poor performing schools, which has blighted communities. All of these things are problems within Jackson and problems throughout several communities in the state and throughout the nation. And so we need resources to affect that. Mental health is a severe issue. Often the state facilities release people here without proper medical care in Jackson, which leads to a litany of other corresponding issues. This is our economic center. This is the space where the momentum is set for the rest of the municipalities throughout the state of Mississippi.
But my main problem is right now for this legislative session is while they're in session, we want to go down and talk to our legislators and make sure that they allocate money for housing, education, and that's the main thing we're looking for right now. We have a lot of problems in our cities and our towns, but I think if we get behind our legislators, they'll get behind us. In our city, and most cities in Mississippi, it's infrastructure. Everybody have a lot of infrastructure problems, with bridges and roads and potholes and streets and things. But right now, if we can get some of that taken care of, that'll help a lot of smaller towns especially. Get behind the mayors and the aldermen and to make sure that we can work together hand in hand. Right now, I'm hoping that we can all get together and let the camaraderie be together and work off each other's ideas.
The infrastructure ideas and plans that they have put in place last year, just coming to get some clarity on that because it's very important for our cities to move forward with good streets and roads and bridges. Economic development, we are trying to grow. With economic development comes families and jobs, and those are the things that I think every city wants. So we're striving consistently to make that happen. Be community-minded, work together. Working together, you can make things happen in any community, large or small. If you blend together, put your hands together, make your community strong, and let's keep growing. Enhance information, taking it back to our communities to put it into action, put it on the ground, as you say, get it off the page, put it in action in an everyday form. And I think all of these meetings create that atmosphere for us in our small towns.
This year we just want to clear up some things that were passed last year as far as the Infrastructure Act. And we want to make sure that we get that clarification on how that will be funded to us. Infrastructure. Infrastructure is always normally the biggest issue we have, and it's just aging lines, water lines, and wastewater. Come and visit and help us with our economic development. Come and eat at our restaurants and hang out in our town and visit. We just hope that everybody can come together, legislators can work together, and reach across the aisles and make good policy.
The key thing that we're working with cities and towns on is the expansion of high-speed internet service through our electric cooperatives. We've had 66 cities and towns and villages in Mississippi that have passed resolutions asking the legislature to change the law to allow our rural electric cooperatives to bring internet service. As it stands today, Mississippi is last in the country when it comes to connectivity to high-speed internet service. And so this change in the law this year will allow our rural areas, our small towns, to have access to internet service in many areas of the state, and it's something in which enjoys wide support in the legislature, wide support across the state through our cities and towns, and something I feel like we can get done this year and as a priority. The issues we're working on, of course, is high-speed internet service, making sure that our folks in rural areas and small towns and even in our large towns have access to the outside world through the internet. As I said, we rank 49th in the United States of America, which means we're at a disadvantage economically, in education, quality of life, and seeing internet service brought to our rural areas has got to be a priority, and it's one that we're working on hard. This is a topic and an issue that is about the future. It's about saving our children. It's about making sure that Mississippi is prepared for the 21st century and all that that brings, and for the digital economy. We have some statistics in our state that are just flabbergasting, and the fact that millennials are leaving Mississippi at a higher pace than any state in the United States of America. We've got to stop that, and so that's what we're working hard on through expansion of internet service. We're hoping that the legislature will pass this law early on, and we'll be able to get this kicked off to expanding service throughout the state, and we feel good about that. We feel good about our chances, but obviously nothing's done until the legislation is signed.
Good afternoon. It is truly a pleasure to bring official greetings on behalf of the city of Jackson. We're happy to have you here in the city of Jackson at such an important moment in time. I recognize that this room is more than likely comprised of people with a diversity of political ideology, but I would encourage us at this time to reach beyond our simple political ideologies to a point of finding operational unity, focusing more on our common ends and objectives than our apparent differences. And in that, I believe that we can build a better Mississippi and better communities within our cities. It is this that I believe is the path forward, for we understand that we will never solve any problem with the same level of thinking that created it. And so I'm happy to have you here. I hope that you enjoy your time, and please take advantage of all of our restaurants and any other accommodations that we have. And I hope that you fall in love with our city. But even if you don't, please just leave your money. Thank you so much.
Boy, Mayor Lumumba just gets to the point, don't he? Stay or don't stay, just leave your cash. Amen to that, brother. Mayor Lumumba and I were talking earlier about areas in Jackson that need access to high-speed internet service. Thank you to the 66 cities, towns, and villages that have passed resolutions asking the legislature this year to change the law to allow our electric cooperatives to do in Mississippi what's happening in 107 entities across America, including in every state that borders this state. And that is to bring to our people, to your people, high-speed, affordable, reliable internet service the same way we brought electricity almost 100 years ago. And that is by we the people. Our bill that your board has voted to support takes care of cities, towns, and villages to make sure that your franchise fees and any existing authority you have today is there. For the last 6 years, our state has lost population. More people are leaving than are coming. More people are leaving than are staying. And we're losing our young people at a rate faster than any state in the United States of America. We're losing our best and our brightest in Mississippi, and you can bet one thing. Young people, millennials, professionals today are not going to stay in a place that's disconnected from the outside world. I sincerely believe, as a former small-town mayor, that our communities, our towns, and our cities are not going to be marketable for the future if we deny our people the technology of today. I can't tell you how much all of us that support this idea thank you for passing these resolutions. It ain't every day you can walk into the Capitol and flop down on the Speaker's office or the Lieutenant Governor's office 66 resolutions from municipalities saying we support this. By the end of 2024, 500,000 jobs will be created in America in which you can work from home if you're connected to the outside world. Think about this just a minute. If we were able in this state to capture 1% of those jobs, 1%, 5,000 jobs. We're not asking for any money. We're asking for the opportunity to change the future of your towns and cities and of our rural areas in the state of Mississippi. And I can't say to you, on behalf of the folks who are supporting this, Mississippi Farm Bureau, Mississippi Realtors, Mississippi AARP, Mississippi Poultry Association, 44 counties and all of these cities, how much I appreciate y'all being on the football field with us and being able to get this done. I think we're going to make it happen, and I'm looking at a lot of the faces that are going to help us get that done. This bill is a door opener, not a gatekeeper, and we all know the difference in those two.
ESGR, which is Employer Support for the Guard and Reserves. Our mission is basically to facilitate and promote a cooperative culture for the employer support of National Guard and Reserves. When we educate you and the general public, we try to tell you that, hey, these employees have rights. You as employers have rights. What are they? How many of you are familiar with what your rights are under the USERRA law? You leave it up to your folks who do the hiring and firing and let them do it. Let me tell you, you as mayors and aldermen and your direct supervisors of these employees need to know and have an understanding of it. It's our job to inform you of your employer's rights and your responsibility to the reservists. And it's their job as reservists to inform you of what your job and responsibilities are. Now, your committee in Mississippi, we're always looking for new people on it. We're all volunteers. Now, we say we're an arm of the Department of Defense. We don't get paid, so we're not looking for a paycheck not to come in while the Congress is not working. But they're made up of people who are leaders in business, government, academia, retirees, and senior member military representatives in Mississippi. Now, there's a lot of things that we do that we'd like for you to be a part of. We have things such as called a boss lift. We want to come and get you as an employer, take you out here and put you on one of these big birds that flies out of Jackson, take you down to Shelby or wherever they're going or wherever they can get a place to go show you where your employees, what they actually do in the Guard and Reserves. There's an old saying that back before Desert Storm, we used to tell our wives that, look, we got an obligation to go out and do this. We got to do it 2 weeks in the summer and a weekend every month. But what they forget to tell those wives was they also get paid. So we didn't tell them about those paychecks. Now, if I ask some of your firemen and policemen what they do to supplement their salary, you're going to find that a big majority of them work earning extra money by being in the Guard and Reserves. Now, they're supplementing their salary. That helps you as an employer because they had to be constantly looking for a pay raise. They've got 2 jobs. But you as an employer, you have got to help them because what happens when they go off? Give you a little instance when back in Desert Storm. We had 2 members of the same family, husband and wife, who were activated out of a unit down in Natchez. They were supposed to have what they call a family support plan, which is somebody to take care of their children if they get activated. Of course, nobody back in 1990 was expecting to be activated. Well, it happened. So we was having a meeting of all the units fixed to be activated and fixed to be sent off. And they come up to me and says, sir, we don't have anybody to take care of our little girl. They wasn't looking for a way to get out of it. They just had a problem. They thought it had somebody to take care of them. And my wife and I, we love kids, and we've taken care of kids over the years. And so we looked at each other and said, what do you think? Do you think we can take care of another child? She says, yes, why not? Well, before the meeting's over, they found somebody to take care of it. But you know, that's the thing that you as employers help these people out. There have been employers that have reported in and said, the wife is down, she can't mow her yard. The employer sits somebody out to mow her yard. While your employee and our soldiers are off doing work for us as citizens of this country. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but they say I had 5 minutes, so I'm trying to hit a little bit of all the spots that would be involved with you. But the Guard and Reserves are an integral part of the military, and almost half the men and women in the armed forces are members of the Guard and Reserves. And as an employer, you are vital in enabling your employees who are members of the Guard and Reserve to serve our country. Moreover, your active support and encouragement are critical to their success. What can you do? Like I said, sometimes you go out and help get the yard mowed for them. But learn more about the Guard and Reserves. Attend open houses that the units have. They have open houses every year. And public functions where military is involved. Talk about the Guard and Reserves with military and civilian leaders in your community. Examine your personnel policies to see how they accommodate and support participation in the Guard and Reserves. They've got medical insurance with their employer. What happens to that medical insurance where they're going active duty, they're not working? There has to be something to cover that family. Yes, they can have coverage on their active duty, but what happens to their coverage when they come back? Are they still covered These are things that you need to know and learn about. Discuss with your employees their service requirements before problems or situations arise. I never will forget, I had a unit up in Oxford. One of their police officers, now the employer called us, his employer, who worked for the police department, says this guy, every time that unit gets activated, he's gone. Why is he gone so much? Well, some of your employees who are in the Guard and Reserves, they know that their job is going to be there when they get back. But they don't need to take advantage of that situation and raise their hand every time and says, hey, I went last month, last year, I'll go again. Well, that's not being fair to you as an employer and taking advantage. They can do this, though, up through 5 years. And this is where the USERA law comes in. And I didn't want to really get into the USERA law because it's a legal thing. And what the Uniform Service Employment and Reemployment Rights Act of 1994, we use USERA, got a lot of acronyms in the military, is the federal law that establishes rights and responsibilities for members of the Guard and Reserves and their civilian employers. USERA affects employment, reemployment, and retention in employment when employees serve in the uniformed services. Now, Congress provided the statutory authority for investigating alleged violations of USERA to the U.S. Department of Labor. You don't want the Department of Labor involved. Call somebody here in the state committee if you've got a problem. We've got ombudsmen who will come in, talk to you, talk to the reservists, and try to amicably work out the problems and let you know what they are. If DOL finds that an employer has likely violated USERA law, DO may refer the case to the U.S. Department of Justice or Officers of Special Counsel for legal action against the employer. Yes, that would include your cities, your mayors. Now, we've got some little slips outside that you can sign and volunteer and sign what we call a statement of support for the Guard and Reserves. We'll send you a little certificate and tell you what all you've agreed to. I'd like for you to pick one up. If you got questions and need to know more about what the ESGR and the USERA law is, we've got people that'd be glad to come and tell you about it. It is a complicated law, but there's rights, and I don't think we have enough employer manuals out there, but stop by and pick up some of the literature that we do have. And if we have something, you got a question, call us. In fact, we have a full-time person, Leanne Hall, she's a volunteer support technician, and she works out of the Guard headquarters over here. And you can get her phone number or email and all that out at the desk out there. And Tom Garrett is out there manning the thing. And I might say, Tom's a retired lawyer, I'm a retired lawyer, and we just enjoy doing things for our servicemen. And no pay, just enjoy doing it, because why? It's the right thing to do. So, in closing, let me just say that the ESGR informs and educates service members and their civilian employers regarding their rights and responsibilities governed under the USERA law. So again, we appreciate y'all letting us have a little time on here. I did get through in 5 minutes, I think. But I could have gone a lot longer, and I rambled a little bit, and I'm sorry. But if you have any questions, please come see us.